It's time now for Igniting Change, a weekly provocative and empowering program where you, the listener, can ignite change. Now here's your host, Barbara Unwine.
Get up, stand up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Igniting Change. And we have a great show for you today. So please, everyone, call your friends and neighbors. Tell them to listen to Igniting Change today, because we have so much great news that you're going to hear that you're not going to hear anywhere else. And before we get into our show, let me bring up my mighty co-host. You know what I'm talking about. He is the chair of the board of the Transformative Justice Coalition. He is AC Action Fund. He is one of our nation's most brilliant, bold, courageous, strategic lawyers you're going to ever find, especially when you're talking about voting rights and civil rights. I'm talking about none other than Attorney Daryl D. Jones. Hey, Daryl.
Hey, Barbara, it must be Tuesday, must be noon Eastern Standard Time, because talking about igniting change. And my goodness, Barbara, I say it and I say it again. It seems as though 6 days go by and so much happens across our country with regards to the vote, with regards to things that just occur. That it's just incredible. We have a really great show in store for our listeners today. We have two just remarkable guests, both of which our listeners have heard from before, but never before have our listeners heard the topic and the substance of what our guests are going to be talking about today, Barbara. That Supreme Court just seems, the U.S. Supreme Court just seems to keep doing it wrong constantly. If there's a reward for getting it wrong, they would always have that award, Barbara.
That's right. And we want to start off today by reminding voters in Maryland, voters in New York, that you got elections today. Don't forget, the last day to vote in Maryland for the primary is today. So it's at 8 o'clock p.m. So are you ready? Please turn out and vote. You got some important races going on today. And in New York City in particular, of course, can't miss the national news. You have a lot of positions up. So everyone, please make sure you vote today. Daryl?
Absolutely, Barbara. So if you're in Maryland, make your way to the polls. If you did an early vote, if you're in New York, do the same. Utah, do the same. Even if you're in South Carolina, today's, Barbara, is their runoff is today in South Carolina.
Oh,
so if you're in South Carolina. That's right. Yeah, mosey your way on down to the polls and cast that ballot. That's just huge. It's huge. And, Barbara, impact of voting. We always get the question from somebody, always ask the question, why should I vote? My vote doesn't matter. They're going to do what they want to do anyway. And I tell you, Barbara, today can tell you about the impact of your vote, what it means to not vote down ballot, not vote for prosecutors that have your interests at heart, what it means to not vote for judges that have the interests of the disability community at heart, those with physical disabilities at heart. They can tell you, Barbara, what all of it means to not cast that vote, what you're empowering against you when you don't exercise that right to vote. So, folks, if you're in Maryland or Utah or New York or South Carolina, make your way to the polls and exercise that right to vote. And if your state has not voted yet, start getting ready. Start getting ready. Start mapping out what the issues are, who the candidates are, how you're going to vote. Is early voting an option for you? Is that what you want to do? Do you want to vote in person? Do you want to do a mail-in ballot? Folks, this is the time to start mapping out your plan to vote and how you plan on making it happen. Right now is that time. Isn't that right, Barbara?
Yes, and we want to update our audience on a story we did last week. A lot of you were enthralled when you heard A.J. Constanary talking from the streets of Atlanta as African-American ministers and ministers of all faiths, clergy, I should say, of all faiths were gathered. You also saw the amazing, you heard him talking about the NAACP's leadership and so many others who helped to organize beautiful turnout to protest the Georgia state legislature's intent to redistrict, saying that they were going to get rid of 2 African-American majority-minority congressional districts and 26 African-American and Latino state legislative districts. Daryl, something happened, didn't it? Didn't something happen?
Oh, yeah. Funny thing happened on my way to the party. Absolutely, Bart. They were on their way to the party, and some uninvited guests showed up. Some uninvited guests showed up. The unexpected guests showed up in their house, in the house they belong, the house that they pay taxes on, and told them, no, we ain't supporting this, we ain't having it. And those folks, Barbara, they showed up in numbers. They showed up inside the State House, showed up outside the State House to register their displeasure with the idea of redistricting and taking away their voice. And boy, did the legislature not turn hard and run and stop the process, at least for now. They stopped, and they are not redistricting right now in the state of Georgia, Barbara. Certainly hats off, congratulations to all those that showed up at that Georgia State House to get in good trouble and to do things to stand up for the community and to stand up for everyone. So congratulations to everyone that was involved in that exercise of free speech, Barbara.
Yes, because they will not be redistricting right now. And it was really important, folks, when you read the articles from the New York Times and others, the reason why they turned tail and said, we're sorry, we didn't mean it. The reason why they stopped was because they were upset by all the anger that had been generated by all the black churches, by all the people, progressive voters throughout the state, by everybody, because they were afraid that they had angered them so bad that people were going to come out in record numbers and vote, and would vote and hurt their positions. So people, when they tell you your vote don't count, you better tell them, you better look at Georgia. They were so worried about how people might vote that they turned tail and dropped their racist plans to redistrict. Oh, folks, there's just so much to talk about. But let's get into our beautiful show for today, because we got a show for you that will make you just can't jump out your seats. We're going to hear from the voice of Marcus Arbery. We're going to hear about his new book, Where's Daddy? Whoa, when people talk about folks who are slain by hate groups and people who are slain by police, they think about the mom. And, of course, the moms are super important. Nobody else got that milk. Nobody else is able to give that birth. So that moms are super important. But people forget about the daddy. And we're going to talk about where's daddy in this whole story, this 6-year journey since the slaying, the vicious, racist slaying of Ahmaud Arbery. You're going to hear from his dad about his new book, Where's Daddy? You're going to also hear from Denise Lieberman as we talk about the second part of our show, the Supreme Court's refusal to protect voters. Yes, people, not only are they trying to take and strip away people's voting rights, they're refusing to protect vulnerable voters. Oh, we're going to talk about that also. So let us get started. Let us introduce our first amazing guest. Daryl, do you want to lead in introducing the amazing Marcus Arbery?
Absolutely, Barbara. Oftentimes in your life you have a chance to meet outstanding people that you don't know that are outstanding when you're initially meeting them. And Marcus Arbery is one of those people. He's the father of Ahmaud Arbery. He's an activist now in Glynn County, Georgia. He's now an author. The book, Where is Daddy? The Ahmaud Arbery story. Let me tell you, folks, when it comes to Ahmaud Arbery and Marcus Arbery, they were just a tight father and son team, is really what they were. In the book, Where's Daddy? The Ahmaud Arbery story, it's described as a powerful and deeply personal book that centers the voice of Marcus Arbery Sr. before, during, and after the world came to know his son's name. It's not just a story about tragedy. It's a story about fatherhood, presence, love, and a legacy. Before the headlines with regards to the slaying of Ahmaud, there was a father who made a decision to be present in his son's life, to choose his children over the streets, to choose presence over absence, and that was Marcus Arbery. Through his honest reflection and lived experience, the book will give readers an intimate look into the bond between Marcus Arbery, the father, and it's just so highlighting the life, not just the loss of Ahmaud. I want to welcome back to Igniting Change, a part of the TJC family, Marcus Arbery. Welcome back, Marcus.
Hey, Dad, thank you very much. And it's always a pleasure to be talking to you and Ms. Barbara, because y'all some warriors and fight for equal justice and rights for us African-American people. And I just want to give all glory to God, number one, and thank God for leading y'all to me. Because without y'all, a lot of stuff wouldn't have happened. Y'all made it possible. So I'm just so grateful to be on y'all team, and I'm going to keep fighting with y'all, and I give all my love. And y'all keep me with scrump, the things y'all tell me, and the things y'all been sticking by me with, and I just thank God for that.
Amen. Amen, Marcus. We're just so happy you're on today's show. And we're going to come right back and start talking about the book. But let me introduce our second guest, because she is amazing. She's returning to our show. And if all of you have had the pleasure of hearing her before, know you're in for a treat. We have with us attorney Denise Lieberman. She's a nationally recognized voting rights lawyer and movement strategist. She serves as Director and General Counsel of the Missouri Voter Protection Coalition, MOVPC, a nonpartisan statewide network dedicated to safeguarding the right to vote. She has litigated challenges to restrictive voting laws in Missouri, Louisiana, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and North Carolina, and has testified before Congress in support of strengthening the Voting Rights Act that is so under such attack right now by our Supreme Court. She also teaches law and political science at Washington University in St. Louis, where she directs the Voter Access and Engagement Initiative. Her career reflects a deep commitment to constitutional and civil rights, combining litigation, legislative advocacy, and public education to expand access to the ballot. You can find her on LinkedIn and other online platforms. It is our pleasure to welcome back to Igniting Change, Denise Lieberman. Hey, attorney.
Thank you so much, Barbara and Daryl. I'm so honored to be with you today.
All right. Let's get into our show, because we have so much to discuss. And let's start talking about your book. We have so much to discuss. And let's start talking about your book. Daryl, you want to start off with the questioning, please?
Oh, sure. So, Marcus, we had a chance to take a look at the book and everything. The question we wanted to start with, I think, is why did you write the book? Why did you feel the necessity to write a book about your relationship with Ahmaud?
The reason I wrote the book, because I want people to really see what love is and what hate is, and I want people to know that a lot of people got sidetracked. That's why the title of the book is Where Dad Is. Daddy never went nowhere. Daddy seen Ahmaud come in this world, and Daddy seen Ahmaud leave out of this world. So that's why the title of the book is Where's Daddy? So I want people to understand Daddy never went nowhere. And Daddy's still out here fighting right now. He ain't stopping. Because one thing, you're a daddy one time, but you're a father forever. You never stop being a father once God give you that title. So that's why it was so important for me to write this book and let the world see the real truth.
I think this is the first time. There, I was just going to say, I think this is the first time I've seen a book from a father's perspective about the slaying, the unjust racist slaying of a black child.
Yeah, that's a good point, Barbara. Yeah, I do not recall any book that I'm in. I'm a pretty persistent. I don't recall any book that really has laid out the black father's perspective on losing a son. I always say, and I remember hearing that when a child loses its parents, it becomes an orphan. A wife loses her husband, becomes. There's a word for that, and there's a word for when the husband loses his wife, but there's no word in the English language to describe the feeling and the experience of when a parent loses their child. And so for this story to have been written and for Marcus, for you to tell it, I think it's just incredible. There's so many stereotypes that are out there about the African-American unloving black father. How do you think we hear these lies, and how does your book counter these lies about us black men?
Oh, wow. When you read the book, it's going to tell you everything that us African-American man we does and we don't get credit for. So when you get into the book, it's really serious, and everything in that book is nothing but the truth, because I don't want to do all that lying and stuff like that. It's never good. You always got to always tell the truth, because the truth always going to stay out there. Lies fade away. You don't want to have nothing to do with you when you do a lot of lying. So that's why it was very important for me to write this book and let people see the real truth, because I was out the light without the cameras, and I was still working hard when no camera was on me. I wasn't there for no cameras. I was there to get chances for Ahmaud, because the way my child got killed.
And you're absolutely right. It's when the cameras are gone and when the people are fading away and all the attention is not on you. That's when you realize the absence. That's when you experience the true friends that stay there, that come and join those moments, and the loss that you actually experience with the loss of your son. What is it that you want people to learn about Ahmaud that they may not have known, but they should read the book, and what they're going to learn about Ahmaud in reading your book?
I want people to know that he was loved, and he was my son, and he was his mother's child. He was a brother. He was an aunt. He was a nephew to his nieces and nephews and all that stuff. He was their uncle. I want people to know that he was loved by his family, and I want people to know that how he died, that it just still ain't sitting well with us at all, because he's supposed to be right here this day. If he was a white man, he would have never died. He was killed, lynched. People got to understand that. Ahmaud was lynched. Didn't break no laws, didn't do nothing to nobody. All he was just a black man doing his routine, working out like he always did. And you got some racer vigilante right behind him and murdered him and left him. The world needs to know that.
And you know what? I have always admired your family. We've been working with your family now for quite a while and gotten to know so many of your family. And one thing I love that you did that people will find out if they walk with you through this book, because this book is a journey. And as people walk with you through the book and walk in your footsteps, they will learn how much you cared to try to make sure your son had every opportunity, but you also got your brothers deeply involved in his life. Make sure that he had multiple black male figures to surround him and to show and pour love into him. Correct?
Yes, ma'am. You got it there right.
Yes, and it was his uncles who were there. And I just think that's such a powerful part of the story, because we know that the strength in the African-American community has always been our extended family, not just two, the mom and the dad. It's been the extended family that comes around and pours love into all.
That's right.
And yes. And when you were saying there was so much about Ahmaud that people don't know, besides the fact that he was this amazing jogger, just amazing, and that he was so beloved by his family. There's people don't understand that he had a love for architecture, that he dreamed about buying a home for his mom. That was why he kept looking at that house, that abandoned house. We would stop there and just admire it. And I got to admit that when I was a kid, I used to love, one of my favorite things to do was to go to the new developments and walk through the new homes that were being built. I never thought of myself as being in any bodily harm or any bodily danger. I just thought it was beautiful to see. And the dream, one day this might be my house, and that kind of dreaming.
Yes, ma'am.
I relate to him so much because he has a spirit that I had, but he was more mechanical. He was more thinking about how things were put together, how things were built. He had that architecture's eye, architect's eye. And that was so beautiful. And so I'm so glad that people are going to get to know him through your story.
Yes, ma'am.
And Marcus, one of the things that you said in sort of your opening statement was that the book, whereas that addresses the evil of hate that Ahmaud experienced at his passing. Could you share your thoughts on this from the book on how it addresses the evil of hate?
Okay, he knowed about racing, but he never thought that he'll go out for a job with his regular routine training. He never thought he was just jogging and doing his regular routine because he's driving so many miles every day. And because he think he was going to come back home because he had his food in the microwave waiting on it, had to put his clothes in the washing machine. When he got to it, he'll run a route, he'll dry his clothes when he get back. My child had never imagined that 3 racing white men would run him down and kill him on this day. He never imagined that. When you just got your life all planned like that, then you got these racial hate people just take your life like that for nothing just because you black and they hate you because you color or you look different. You know what I'm saying? I always explain that to my kids how hate is. You got to let them know. You know what I'm saying? And I know the stuff they try to tag him with, he was nothing like that. And God showed everything to the light, and the reason why he got killed just because he was a black man. He just lost his life just because he was a young black man, and those 3 white men were racial hate. They hated black people that bad. And I want people to see, the world to see what hate is. Don't get me wrong, all of them are not bad. But I tell you one thing, we're going to have to hold the bad ones accountable when they step out of line and do the black African-American people wrong. That's why it's so important to vote and get the right people in these offices that going to do the right thing and treat everybody equally. That's why it's so important to get out and vote. And I respect what you and Darryl are doing, trying to let the world see. Get out and vote so we can bring changes. That's why they try to make it so hard for us to vote, because they don't want these changes. It hurting black African-American people the most when we don't get out and vote and put these right people in the office to see up on who we are, not our skin color or not our nationality. It's so important. People got to wake up and support y'all. Get out and vote. Please. I'm begging y'all. And we got Jackie Johnson up out the office by just vote now. It's important to do that. That's why they make it so hard for us to vote, because they know if we turn out, we will show out.
My Lord, you're just amazing, Marcus. Darryl and I want everyone listening and to buy the book, Where's Daddy? The Ahmaud Arbery story. Everyone, not just buy 1, buy 2, 3 copies. Share the story. Educate folks about what a hate looks like. Educate people about why it's so important to stand behind our beautiful black children. Educate people about why racial justice isn't an option in this country, why it's a necessity. Educate people. Marcus, you have been, for Father's Day, people had you for book signings. Tell people, how do they buy the book, but also how do they get in touch to have you come and do a book signing engagement?
All they got to do is get in touch with Dara D. Gale, or you can go to daddy.org, where'sdaddy.org, and you can find it right there. Or you can get in touch with me or Dara, and you can get your hand on the book real easy.
All right. Where'sdaddy.org, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yes, and that's where people can not only buy the book, buy books, I hope, and also invite Marcus to a book signing engagement, because as you can tell, he has so much to share, so much for you to learn. This is the American story. People, as we come to the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, this book is the answer that to the question Frederick Douglass posed about what is the 4th of July to the Negro. This is the answer about where's Daddy, how do we unite in this moment to fight for racial justice. As we end this segment, Marcus, I'm just so amazed at you. You grew up in Brunswick. You grew up in that beautiful area of this country. You grew up around all of these people's negative expectations, but you were known as an amazing martial arts specialist, as an amazing, people of all races wanted to learn from you. People were just moved by your character, your stand, how you would just stand up for what was right. But you never were trained as somebody who's going to become a national advocate, but circumstances came upon you that would have crushed most people to the ground, that have broken people's hearts so deeply that they're no longer with us. But you took it and you made a platform with it. You took it and you made this whole nation understand who Ahmaud Arbery was and why his legacy must live on. Thank you so much for being the author of this new book. Everybody, please buy it. Where's Daddy? The Ahmaud Arbery story.
Thank you very much, Ms. Barbara.
Yes. Do you have any final words you want to just say to our audience before you leave, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I just want to tell the whole world thank you. And yes, ma'am. I just want to tell the whole world thank you. And Ahmaud tragedy could have turned me upside down, like you say, Ms. Barbara. But God didn't want me to be like that. God wanted me to be a Martin Luther King, nonviolent, because when you nonviolent and people violent against you, they are sick.
My.
There are sick people. I'm telling you, and believe me, God will take care of them. Lord Jesus Christ will take care of them. You got to do is sit back, keep your humble heart, and keep doing like you're doing, and you will last long on this earth. I'm telling you, see where those three at with all that hate in them? They terrorizing in these prisons. God got his ways of taking care of people like that. That's why I don't want to be like that. I could have been like that, hate, and just went around destroying and killing white people too. But I said, no, God don't want me like that, because I'd have destroyed my own integrity as a man. I feel I should do the right thing and go to the system and leave it on God and get justice that way. Because now I'm still out here, and I feel good out here for what I did for Ahmaud and my family and all the rest of African American concerns. Because right now we don't want nothing like that to happen to nobody, not even black children. Because all us God people, and we got to be thankful for that and do the right thing. That's why we got to get the right people in these offices like me and you is, how you and Darryl, they'll do the right thing We got to get people like y'all in these offices and get the rest of them out of there that don't want to do the right thing. You can't be one-sided in this race. You got to be as one. We all as one. White people, African-American people, Latino, Mexican, all of us as one. And we got to get on the same page, everybody, and treat everybody equal. We do that, this world's going to be a better place. Thank y'all.
Amen.
Bless y'all. Y'all keep fighting.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you so much, Marcus.
And Marcus, our folks are writing as you're talking. They're saying, all right. They're sending you love. Just thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barbara and Darryl. Y'all keep doing like y'all doing. And y'all know anytime y'all need me, we family. I'm coming to see about y'all. I love y'all and God bless y'all.
Amen.
God bless you, too, and we'll be down there to see you, I think, soon. We're going to be down in Georgia, so we're going to make it a point to come over to Brunswick to see you this July, Marcus.
All right, and I got one more thing to say before I leave y'all. Y'all see that I'm Jackson Johnson on federal charge and jump all on.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Much love. Much love.
Thank you.
Well, everybody, while we have been in the show, there is an announcement we want to make that we just saw flash up in all of our comments. And one of those is that the Georgia State Legislature just closed. They just ended their session, no redistricting. They just ended their special session, no redistricting. Folks, congratulations. Congratulations to the people.
We need one of those applause things, Barbara. We need one of those applause things where everybody's clapping. Yay! Way to go, Georgia. Congratulations to Georgia. That's right, to the citizens of Georgia, because had the citizens not shown up, had they not shown up at the State House, we don't believe that we'd be standing here now announcing that the legislature did not redistrict in the state of Georgia. It is the power of your voice, the power of your vote, the power of your action that stopped that from happening in the state of Georgia. Don't forget your power. Don't let anyone ever tell you that you're powerless when the forces seem against you. You got your voice. You got your vote. You can hold people accountable. That's what just happened in the state of Georgia. Barbara, I know that we have got to pivot, and we talked about the success of the Ahmaud Arbery, and we talked about the success of Ahmaud Arbery in the court system, both the state court and the federal court. We talked about the positive response, the positive action of the people of the state of Georgia in stopping the Georgia State Legislature from redistricting. Now we got to go talk about this Supreme Court, Barbara. We got to go talk about this with Attorney Denise Lieberman and talk about, what in the world the Robert VI are doing. Because this is really out there, Denise. Denise, welcome back to Igniting Change. Can you tell our listeners, just bring them up to date real quick, what is this Arkansas United case, this case about disability rights? What is the Arkansas United case about?
Thank you so much, Darryl and Barbara, for having me. I also want to thank Marcus Arbery because I'm so inspired by hearing him talk and hearing him uplift the powerful story of his son to ensure that Arbery did not die in vain, and he did die in violence. But this story is being uplifted so that we can all carry that lesson with us, and that was very powerful to me listening to that over this last half hour. And I also appreciated how Marcus ended with the call for the fight to vote, because that is exactly what this Arkansas case was about, is the ability of people to access the vote. The case that Darryl was mentioning, Arkansas United, has to do with the rights of people with disabilities or language barriers to get help in voting if they need it. And that's something that our federal laws guarantee. In fact, it's in the Voting Rights Act. Yes, that very same law, the very same law that people marched and bled and died for, the very same law that the United States Supreme Court gutted when it came to race discrimination in voting just last month. This is another section of the Voting Rights Act. It's a section that says if you need help, if you can't read or cast your ballot, you have a right to assistance by anybody of your choice, except for your boss. Now, this is just the most basic level of rights, ensuring that inability to read or cast that ballot, a disability, language barrier, is not going to stop you from being able to make your voice heard. And so this was a piece of the Voting Rights Act that has helped ensure that people with disabilities, that people with learning disabilities or dyslexia, people with language barriers have been able to be a part of our democracy. This case in Arkansas, which is in the same federal circuit as I'm in here in Missouri, they said, oh, voters themselves don't have a right to assert their right to assistance. So it may be there under the law. It may say that you have this right to assistance in voting, but if you're a voter, you don't have a right to bring that claim. Now, does that sound crazy to you? Because it is. It's exactly what we're talking about, that voters would not have standing to even assert their own rights under the Voting Rights Act. But it follows a nasty string of other cases, also from Arkansas, by the way, in North Dakota, saying that voters couldn't assert their right to be free from race discrimination under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Now they've applied it in the area of disability and language access as well. And unfortunately, yesterday, in an appeal, the United States Supreme Court said, nah, we don't want to hear that case. We're going to let that decision stand. And what that means for states that are in that jurisdiction, including my own here in Missouri, and that's states like Arkansas, that's states like North and South Dakota, and Minnesota, and Nebraska, and Missouri, but voters aren't going to have any remedy if they need help, and they're not getting it. Wow. And go ahead, Darryl.
So, Denise, I just want to be certain that I'm clear. If a person's in Missouri and Big Mama has glaucoma, so she can't see that well, and Big Mama wants to go in person to vote because that's her thing. She wants to be there in person to vote. And so she goes to vote, but she needs help because she can't see the ballot. Would she be able to bring her grandchild with her to help her? Does this case prevent her from doing that?
It doesn't prevent her. So this law is still on the books. And by the way, it's right. Not only in federal law. Most states have laws that say you have a right to bring help. But here's the problem, Darryl. So, yeah, that's a right, but it's maybe a right on paper only because, yeah, this law still exists. It still says you have a right to assistance if you need help in voting. But what if that poll worker says, hey, you can't go with her in there and help her vote? What are you doing? And they tell the kid to go away? Mama doesn't have any recourse to assert her right to assistance. And the lawsuit that was happening in Arkansas is very similar to one I'm litigating right now in Missouri, where the law itself limited who could provide that help to the voter. So the voter has a right to assistance by anybody they want, except that the laws in states like Arkansas and Missouri say, oh, if you're helping somebody, you can only help one person. That's Missouri's law. Or in Arkansas, you can only help people in an entire election. So if you're somebody there that works with a disability advocacy organization that says, hey, I want to be there. I want to be there for people that are visually impaired, to be that person to help them out. Or if you're in an area that has a large number of people that don't have proficiency in English and you're a Spanish language organization, I'm going to be there to help translate these ballots for people. The laws in my state and the laws in Arkansas would prohibit you from doing that. And once you've helped those voters. And these voters now, after this decision is being allowed to stand, don't have the ability to assert their own rights under this law. And that is intended to do. The Voting Rights Act is not a law for the federal government to enforce. And yes, the federal government has the power to enforce it. But the ruling in Arkansas United said only the United States Attorney General can take any action under the Voting Rights Act. And that is not what the Voting Rights Act is about. It was about ensuring that voters had the ability to assert their rights. And this string of decisions...
Todd Blanche would have to make that decision for the people in the story.
Being locked out of the courthouse, he's trampling on their rights too. And this comes right at the very moment, Daryl, that at the federal level, this administration is trying to eliminate the ability of people to vote by mail. So you got a disability, and you need help in voting, and you can't bring somebody to help you or assert your right to get help when you're at the polling place, then what else are you going to do? You're going to try and get that ballot in the mail. Oh, but now there's an executive order that's trying to limit the Postal Service from delivering those ballots by mail. This is an all-out attack on our most vulnerable citizens, the citizens whose voices are already underrepresented, whose voices we need to hear more of, who we need to be facilitating access to the ballot instead of constricting it.
Wow.
My. Go ahead.
And just really, Denise, on what you're saying, it goes from polling place to polling place, right? So that they could, in essence, you could really focus on the marginalized voters at one of their polling places and say, we're not going to allow certain assistance. We're not going to have handicap ramps. We're not going to have these things that are in place. And the only person that will be able to bring the lawsuit to say what y'all doing is wrong is Todd Blanche with the U.S. Attorney's Office. Is that right?
As crazy as that sounds, that is the result that the Supreme Court let stand yesterday.
Okay, Barbara, go ahead, because I'm confused. I'm upset. Go ahead, Barbara.
No, it just shows you the double standard of this court. Now, here's a court that has gone out of its way after it issued that vicious decision in Louisiana versus Calais, that this wrong-headed, legally unsound opinion in Calais, that the court then went out of its way to issue 4 orders, and actually 5 in total, to enforce that decision. And that decision, folks, devastated Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and its protections against racial discrimination in voting. Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and its protections against racial discrimination in voting. And it made it harder to prove the discrimination, even though it's rampant. It made it more, but it also made it difficult to have any remedy whatsoever for racial discrimination in voting. And they went out of their way to send orders to Alabama, to send orders to Louisiana, to send orders to North Dakota, to Mississippi, to say, enforce our decision. That this activistic, conservative, ultra-right court went out of its way to issue these orders. 2 of those orders, frankly, the question before the court was not about Calais. The question before the court was, is there a private right of action under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act? The court was so anxious to enforce its Calais decision to strip away African-American voting districts that it decided not to even address the question for which it accepted the case. It totally skipped over the question of whether or not there was a private right of action and went straight to saying, since the underlying case here involves majority districts, you can get rid of them. This is, and folks, let me be clear, the North Dakota case involves Native Americans. Remember when we were talking about Georgia, we said they were trying to get rid of Latino districts. Folks, don't think this is just the anti-blackness, although it's a lot of it, but it's also that they have problems with anybody who is non-white having a real serious power. But now it turns out that we're seeing this other evil I've been talking about it, and I know people don't like it when I speak about it because it's scary, but I have been speaking about the whole Yarvin philosophy that Teal and Vance and Bannon and Elon Musk and others have followed, which is a eugenicist belief that people are inferior, even white people, if they have disabilities. That's one of the things they teach. They teach that this is just insane, that we're seeing this disabled evil, this ableist philosophy dominating again. And this is what we're watching happening in these courts, where you got these ultra-extremist, eugenicist-believing folks making these decisions. It's evil. It's wrong. We saw this in Nazi Germany, where they had the same philosophy. There's something evil, people, brewing, and you got to know what it is. Don't be sitting out there just with your mouth hanging out saying, I don't understand what they're doing. They are doing what they believe, and they are doing this because they believe that certain people are just genetically inferior. And this is absolutely unacceptable.
It is unacceptable. And you know what's even more? That voters with disabilities actually make up the single largest sub-demographic voting group. Over 35 million Americans have a disability that may impact their ability to vote. And let's remember, that is a club that each and every one of us is going to join at some point in our lives. Okay? Yeah. So you think about who may have difficulty casting their ballot. It may be somebody like Daryl mentioned who has glaucoma and maybe doesn't see as well as they used to, or low vision. It might be somebody who has a hand tremor, who cannot hold that pencil steady in the court. It might be someone who's temporarily disabled because they broke their arm. And it might be somebody who has dyslexia, who has trouble reading all of the words on the ballot in order, or somebody who is low literacy and needs assistance in being able to have that information read to them. It affects so many people, and they all have a right to have their voices heard too.
Amen. And when this reminds me, everyone, that the Supreme Court they're not finished yet. They had a decision day today, and they issued an ugly little ruling in the Landor case, which was a case involving a Rastafarian and his right to religious freedom, where the guards attacked him, held him down, and shaved off his dreadlock, which, as everybody knows, is a major manifestation of your religion as a Rastafarian. And the court, in a decision by Gorsuch today, said that was fine, just fine. And it was, of course, Ketanji Brown Jackson led. It was a 6-3 decision, and she wrote a decision for the dissent. And again, when Daryl talks about voting, remember, there would be no Ketanji Brown Jackson on that court making her voice heard and calling out these injustices if it weren't for the fact that people voted in 2020 to have a President Biden who then nominated her. Folks, and that there was a Senate that people had voted for that was able to confirm her. People never underestimate the power of your vote. Never, ever underestimate it. Because at some point, when we have a better court, these dissents will go from dissents to majority opinions as the court changes and evolves. But right now, it is so important for someone on the court to say that was wrong. And what the court did today was wrong. They still have 12 decisions, 12 opinions to issue before July 3rd, when they allegedly go out of session. We know that in those opinions is the Watson case about mail-in balloting, is the FEC case about unlimited money to be spent by political parties, and the case of the birthright citizenship case. regarding the 14th Amendment. Folks, we have got to embrace our political power. So, Denise, you are, Attorney Lieberman, you are one of the leaders of putting together the John Lewis Good Trouble Lives On 3-day weekend of action in Missouri. Tell people about how all that connects up and relates to what we're talking about right now.
Oh, I'm so glad that you asked about Good Trouble Lives On, because in the wake of all of this news, it is so easy to feel dejected. It is so easy to feel like our voices don't matter. And that is exactly why we need Good Trouble Lives On, because the late Congressman John Lewis charged us to get up and be joyful and be positive and be confident in our voices, and urged us to get into good trouble together. And when we do that, when we come together as a community, come together in all our diversity, come together in joy for our right to vote, we can be unstoppable. This is actually how we fight back against authoritarianism, by coming together as communities to say, my voice matters. And groups like mine are on the ground helping make sure that everybody who shows up is registered to vote. We're going to be helping people check their registrations, update their registrations. No excuse for anybody to sit this one out, because your voice does matter. And this year, it is off the chains. I've been working with both of y'all at the Transformative Justice Coalition for 6 years to uplift these events, and now it is a full weekend of action. We're getting churches involved.
Yeah.
You know that the fight for the right to vote is about uplifting the basic human dignity of all people. This is a perfect place to bring our faith leaders together, to bring our communities together. We've got our schools out there doing teach-ins. We've got student groups doing teach-ins. And we've got community groups going out on the streets and talking to each other and bringing each other together, because together we are far more powerful than any one of us individually.
And as we start heading to the last couple of moments of this show, Denise, I know that people want to know, how can they get in contact with you? How do they reach you? And if you could, because we talk a lot about the disability community and the change of what's happening there, but there's still a legislative fix that's there despite what the Supreme Court didn't do or should have done in this situation. So if you could take just a moment and tell people how to reach you and the importance of pushing forward on that legislative fix with the power of their vote.
And thank you so much, Daryl. And that's a wonderful point, because the law still says that people with disabilities are entitled to assistance in voting. The law still says that polling places have to be accessible. The law still says that the voters who can't enter a polling place are entitled to get access to the ballot. And so those laws are still there, and that's why programs like election protection exist. This is a national program. My organization runs it in Missouri, but the phone number is the same all across the country. And if you see anything, if you're experiencing any problems at the polls, you call that number, 866-OUR-VOTE. 866-OUR-VOTE. You know that hotline is answered by attorneys? And I'm going to share another little secret about that hotline. It was created by none other than Dr. Barbara Arnwine, who's sitting on this line right now. And this is a program that helps ensure that no matter where you are in the country, you've got a lifeline to get help from an attorney right then and there with any problems in voting. If you're here in Missouri, you can reach the Missouri Voter Protection Coalition at MOVPC.org. You can sign up for our action alerts at bit.ly/MOVPC alerts. And there's so many ways. There's so many ways to get involved. I know groups like mine all around the country are looking for people to volunteer for election protection, to be monitors at the polls, to be that friendly face for the voter, so that they know that they're not alone and that they have somebody on their side that's going to help make sure they can cast a ballot.
It's time to get off the sidewalks and to get into the streets, start making your way to the polls and get into some good trouble.
Okay, take a phone there.
Big thanks to Attorney Denise Lieberman, and big thanks to Marcus Arbery. Y'all get out there and get that book, Where's Daddy? The Story of Ahmaud Arbery. Till next Tuesday, noon Eastern Standard Time. Peace, everybody.
Peace.